Hello, today we are going to learn service design in IDLE. In Module 3, we have these topics: understanding the service design stage and its key processes, designing services and service level agreements, understanding capacity management, availability management, and ID service continuity management. The service design stage of the IDLE Information Technology Infrastructure Library Service Lifecycle is the stage where the overall design of ID services is developed. It involves the creation of a detailed design specification that meets the requirements of both the customers and the IT organization. The key processes involved in this stage include 1. Service catalog management. Service catalog management is the process of creating and maintaining a service catalog that details all the services that the ID organization offers to its customers. The service catalog provides customers with a clear understanding of the services that are available and the service levels that they can expect. 2. Service level management. Service level management is the process of defining, agreeing, monitoring, and reporting on the level of service that the IT organization provides to its customers. It involves creating service level agreements (SLAs) that define the level of service that will be provided and ensuring that these agreements are met. Designing services and service level agreements (SLAs) are important aspects of the service design stage in the IDLE Information Technology Infrastructure Library Service Lifecycle. Here's a breakdown of each concept. Designing services. Designing services involves developing a detailed design specification that meets the requirements of both the customers and the IT organization. The design specification should include information about the service, such as its features, performance levels, and support requirements. The main steps involved in designing services include 1. Understanding customer needs. The first step in designing services is to understand the needs of the customer. This involves identifying the specific services required by the customer and analyzing their usage patterns and behavior. 2. Defining service requirements. Once customer needs have been identified, the next step is to define the service requirements. This involves determining the features, performance levels, and support requirements that the service must meet. 3. Designing the service. With the service requirements in mind, the IT organization can then design the service. This involves developing a detailed specification that includes information about the service, such as its architecture, infrastructure, and security requirements. 4. Testing the service. Once the service has been designed, it should be tested to ensure that it meets the requirements of both the customer and the IT organization. This may involve conducting functional testing, performance testing, and security testing. Service level agreements. A service level agreement (SLA) is a formal agreement between the IT organization and the customer that defines the level of service that will be provided. It sets out the service levels that the customer can expect, as well as the consequences if those service levels are not met. The main steps involved in designing an SLA include 1. Defining service levels. The first step in designing an SLA is to define the service levels that will be provided. This involves identifying the key performance indicators (KPIs) that will be used to measure the performance of the service. 2. Agreeing on service levels. Once the service levels have been defined, the next step is to agree on them with the customer. This involves negotiating the terms of the SLA and ensuring that both parties understand the expectations. 3. Monitoring and reporting. Once the SLA has been agreed upon, it needs to be monitored and reported on. This involves tracking the performance of the service against the agreed upon service levels and providing regular reports to the customer. 4. Reviewing and updating. Finally, the SLA needs to be reviewed and updated on a regular basis to ensure that it continues to meet the needs of both the customer and the IT organization. In summary, designing services and service level agreements are critical aspects of the service design stage in the ITIL service lifecycle. By implementing these processes, organizations can ensure that their IT services are designed to meet the needs of the business and its customers, and that the level of service provided is clearly defined and understood. Capacity management, availability management, and IT service continuity management are key processes in the service design stage of the ITIL service lifecycle. Here's an overview of each process. 1. Capacity management. Capacity management is the process of ensuring that IT resources, including hardware, software, and human resources, are adequate to meet the current and future needs of the business. The main objective of capacity management is to optimize the use of IT resources while ensuring that service levels are maintained. The capacity management process typically involves the following steps. Capacity planning. This involves forecasting the demand for IT resources and developing a plan to meet that demand. Capacity monitoring. This involves tracking the use of IT resources and identifying areas where additional capacity may be required. Capacity reporting. This involves providing regular reports on the use of IT resources, as well as forecasts of future demand. 2. Availability management. Availability management is the process of ensuring that IT services are available when needed by the business. The main objective of availability management is to minimize the impact of service disruptions on the business. The availability management process typically the following steps. Availability planning. This involves developing a plan to ensure that IT services are available when needed. Availability monitoring. This involves tracking the availability of IT services and identifying areas where improvements may be required. Availability reporting. This, tracking the availability of IT services and identifying areas where improvements may be required. Availability reporting. This involves providing regular reports on the availability of IT services. 3. IT service continuity management. IT service continuity management (ITSCM) is the process of ensuring that IT services can be recovered in the event of a major disaster. The main objective of ITSCM is to minimize the impact of a disaster on the business. The ITSCM process typically involves the following steps. Business impact analysis. This involves identifying the critical IT services that are required to support the business and assessing the impact of a service disruption. Risk assessment. This involves identifying the risks that could cause a service disruption and assessing the likelihood of those risks occurring. ITSCM strategy development. This involves developing a strategy for recovering IT services in the event of a disaster. ITSCM plan development. This involves developing detailed plans for recovering IT services in the event of a disaster. ITSCM testing. This involves testing the ITSCM plans to ensure that they can be executed successfully. In summary, capacity management, availability management, and IT service continuity management are critical processes in the ITIL service lifecycle. By implementing these processes, organizations can ensure that their IT services are designed to meet the needs of the business and that the impact of service disruptions is minimized. Thank you for watching us. Stay tuned for next part.